Next morning Emily went to talk to Chrissy about it. She said Chrissy had the expected guilt and extreme worry about being found out, especially since there were witnesses. She said it was a huge mistake, but also that it was really good, especially for drunk Segs. Emily said, "Why stop? He just got divorced. You have been on edge because of work for a year now. We're on vacation and nothing came with you, not your job, not Chuck, that's me, not Cora, our daughter. You left your whole life behind. Consider it a free week. Eric and I won't say a thing, and we'll cover if anything comes up." Eric told me she apparently liked the sound of it but had apprehension. She went to talk to Mike, and then Mike came to Eric asking if they were for real about letting this happen. Eric said yes, he had been coached up by Emily as to what to say, and told him to just get it out over the next few days. "You both deserve a real vacation from everything, and when we go back it all just goes back to normal and Chuck will never know." I was ready to throw up hearing this. The betrayal of my wife and my two closest friends hit like an anvil. My head was spinning, I was so angry and hurt at the same time. But I needed to know the whole deal. He said over the next 3 days they stuck to all the plans for the trip. I know this to be true because all the expected IG and Facebook posts went up. I kept getting included in the group snap from everyone, and Chrissy would call twice a day to check in, with intermittent texts throughout the day. I suspected absolutely nothing while back home recovering. Update 1, he said those last 3 days Mike and Chrissy basically acted like a newly dating couple. They made sure on outings that any pics/posts/snaps were innocent. But they held nothing back in terms of holding hands or kissing while out, and whenever they got back to the BNB it was almost always immediately to Mike's bed. They were not quiet about it was very evident what they were doing and for how long. He said on the 4th night they didn't even close the door. On the 5th day Emily enacted her plan. Eric doesn't know what was said but she got her to agree to the swap. Mike did say something to Eric, and Eric just said yeah it's what he wanted. It wasn't, but he had totally caved to Emily's pressure by this point. That night he was with Chrissy. He said they did have sex among other things, and he tried to get into it but was preoccupied knowing Emily was with Mike down the hall. He said Chrissy put on a good show but he knows she wasn't really satisfied. He said the part that really stung his ego was she went back to her room, while Emily spent the whole night with Mike. In the morning he overheard Chrissy say, "You owe me one," to Emily right when she got up. That was the day they traveled back. All silently swearing to take it to the grave. I remember Chrissy getting home and immediately coming to check on me and acting like she was so excited to see me. I realize now that she was doing what betrayed spouses call love bombing. This went on for weeks and I should have known something was up. We had a good relationship, but she was so attentive and caring and loving for several weeks upon return. I always thought it was just guilt from leaving me behind with my broken ankle and just feeling refreshed from the vacation. I guess it was really guilt from the cheating. Eric went on to say as soon as they got back from vacation Emily was dead set on the open relationship now. There was no other option. Eric agreed and they landed on some ground rules. First and foremost everything was to be all access. Messages, conversations, everything. I asked why the hell would he want all that if he hated the idea of her effing other guys? He said he asked for that because her first rule was no limits. He wanted to have a list of people who were no-go and she said no. This was about being open sexually and they couldn't do that if people were off limits. It was gonna be the same for both of them so he should be fine with it. If he wanted to try and F her sister he could, and she didn't want coworkers, exes, anyone off her list either. He agreed on the stipulation he knows everything, and has access to everything. He said he did this to collect evidence for his eventual divorce. She resisted at first but when he said he'd expose what happened on vacation she caved. At this point he asked if I wanted all the messages he had. The vast majority of stuff was his wife with other men. Coworkers, randoms, she had been busy. But there were plenty of messages between Chrissy and Emily. I picked up that Emily and Mike had started a regular affair about 4 months earlier. About 1 month ago the conversation of the trio started. That whole time after the vacation Chrissy had been really good to me, and seemed much happier than before. In the beginning of the convo she stuck to the idea that what happened on vacation was it. It was vacation from reality, and now it was over and life would just go on like normal. About 2 weeks in she started to show some interest at Emily's encouragement. This is when Mike entered the conversation too. Chrissy agrees at this point and the plan comes to be. In addition, Eric had a photo of Chrissy and Mike kissing, and a recording of him having sex with her. The son of a tramp had sneakily recorded it, not the best quality vid but he did manage to get a clear shot of her face and tattoo. I thanked him for the evidence, then told him he was piece of CR, and after we had our divorces, he better never